Expectations to our investors and timing. Timing is a huge thing. You know, we make video games. If we release an awesome video game that we spent $50 million for the last 6 years developing, and it's at the wrong time, and it doesn't catch on, it's not as sticky as we thought it would be, you know, it's $60 million lost ROI for us, right? Which is, I guess what I'm trying to say is as you move forward and from a startup and become successful, and in our case, go public and have thousands of shareholders that we need to adhere to, that we need to explain ourselves to, a lot of things that start at the precipice of building a company stay with you for forever. So keep that in mind. I'm just gonna play a video really quick. This is our flagship video game with our partner Tencent Games. So it's a shooting game. So let's go back to our roots. The whole notion of this conference is about startups. So in 2006, that's what we were. We were a startup when we were a private company. We joint ventured with a company that you may have heard of, Epic Games out of the US. We were called Epic Games China. So really the thesis of our company is where we were the outsourcer for Epic Games. We made their IP or their video games an extremely low cost advantage because our headquarters is based in Shanghai. Labor economics have a lot to do with it, but also we have an amazing theater program and a development school where we recruit some of the highest talent in all of China and basically put them upstairs on the 5th floor of our 5-story building, teach them how to make games, ingrain them into our social culture, and then take the top 2 to 3% and ingrain them into the first 4 floors, which house our development studio. So in 2006, we started building 2 games in particular for Epic. One of them was Fortnite, the other one was Gears of War. How many guys or any girls play Fortnite here? Yeah, right, way more than that. Anyways, because we were that outsourced partner, we were also a technology startup in the sense that, I don't know if a lot of you know, but Epic Games, they were a technology company before they were one of the darlings of the video game industry. They developed a physics and graphics engine called the Unreal Engine. And the Unreal Engine is one of 2 major engines on which the majority of AAA video games are built on. So we were also, aside from being the outsourced partner, we also distributed the Unreal Engine on behalf of Epic to all of the Asian marketplace. And we became really good at it, and we became really cost effective for Epic. So in 2009, we built our first video game and not made it for Epic, and it was called Fat Princess. Fat Princess we ended up selling to Sony in 2009. 2011, we launched our first major online battle game, and it was called Mars. It's still in operation today. It cost us $3.6 million to make, and year to date, or launch to date, it's generated over $60 million US. So that's the kind of business that we were engaged in. In 2014, it changed because 2014 we met Tencent. Tencent is the world's largest video game company in the largest market in the world, China. They came to us and basically their conundrum was, we want to build a AAA quality game, but it's way too expensive for us to do that right now. Will you work with us to co-develop a game with us? And this co-development game will replace one of our existing games that's still in its 9th year this year, generates $300 million. So we went through the process of developing from 2014 to 2016. In 2016, we released it to Tencent for testing and went through 18 months worth of testing. And June 29th of last year, it finally launched on the biggest network, video game network in the world called WeGame. that's owned by Tencent. So since then, we've grown our portfolio of video games. Aside from our flagship Rising Fire to 8, we launched our first mobile game earlier this year that's going to be exclusively distributed by Apple, starting in Southeast Asia, moving to China, and then globally. We have another mobile game that we're launching later this year that will be launched globally through either Apple or Google Play. We haven't signed the distribution contract yet. Next year we have 4 video game launches, including a co-development deal with another major that I can't talk about right now, but they're like Epic Games, but not Epic Games. So we're very excited about the trajectory. And one thing from the last panel that also kind of spoke to me in terms of that trajectory, we were a revenue generating and profitable business up until 2014. And our investors loved us because we were making lots of money for them and for us. But in 2014, we decided to turn back into a startup. That means we were still making revenue, but we were taking all of our profits and putting them back into the business and trying to grow a portfolio of video games that hopefully in 5, 6, 7 years would return an ROI that would be that hockey stick curve that everyone talks about. So from 2014 till third quarter of this year, we were not profitable. And it was very difficult because even though we went public, even though we had access to capital, we weren't showing the profits that investors wanted to see. And at that point, it's a different issue as a public company because you keep on disappointing analysts, you keep disappointing your investors because 5 years turns into 6, turns into 7. So that's something that we've had to deal with, but we're very happy that we're, like I said, Q4 of this year, we're going to be profitable on multiple games, and then 2020 is going to be that J's or hockey stick curve for us. I'm not going to say J because that's a little optimistic, but hockey stick is a little bit better because of the angle. So really, the investment highlights, the one major thing that everyone keeps talking about is management. It's people first, and video games in this case second. Our people are all private equity guys, except me. I'm public venture capital in my background. I've been part of the company formation side of the business for 9 years, close to 10 years, so still a junior by many respects. But this company is different because it came from not only the technical side, but also from the financial side. So our access to capital has been extremely high compared to a lot of our peers. And that's really what you want to bank on. If you want to bank on people that have the idea, just make sure that are surrounding them are people that can sell the story. Because a lot of the time, there are founders and CEOs of companies that are entrepreneurs that aren't capable at a very high level to sell the bankers, to sell the VCs, and they don't have enough backbone to not be taking advantage of the VCs. And even though I have the great idea, it's a function of timing and personality in that case. You have to have a team around the founder that all together cumulatively can sell the project. Because telling your story is a massive thing, and not every founder can do it. So we're very fortunate in the fact that our management team and all of us are capable in different ways. My capability just seems to be focused more on the PR marketing side, but we have a guy that raises money, and that's all that he does. So the team aspect of any company, especially on the startup side, is very important. And then I think I've mentioned this already, but we have our one major video game that's in the largest market in the world, largest distribution partner. Tencent is unrivaled in terms of its power of distributing a video game, but also making capital in that distribution. We have a portfolio of 9 games, 8 other games aside of Rising Fire. And number 5 is that we signed a new co-development deal. That will be the first time that one of our video games is on the console market and a global release, and that's set for late 2020. So everyone in this room at one point will be able to play our game, whereas before, up until now, we've been hyper-focused on the Asian marketplace and emerging nations because that's where we see the largest growth. I just wanted to bring this chart up just to show the growth of the video game market. And I asked how many people here played Fortnite, and a lot of people lied and said no. But the chart doesn't lie. And those are billions of dollars. And that growth is not stopping anytime soon. There's this inflection point in the world right now, especially in the emerging nations that we're tracking. The disposable income in some of these third world countries is getting to a level that meshes with the decrease in hardware costs. And I'm talking about mobile phones. If you see Samsung, HTC, Apple, they're all making a range of phones now. We have the North American, the high quality one, the Apple iPhone XS Max Plus, or whatever it is. But they also make an emerging market version that we will never see in the Western market. It has no front camera, it has no back camera, or maybe a 5 megapixel instead of a 20. But internally, it's capable of playing any mobile video game that's on the App Store. And that's important because of that inflection. And once that threshold is at equilibrium in the emerging nations, you'll see video gaming go to that J curve. This is a pretty good increase, but just imagine what happens when billions of people who are currently offline become online. Video game is going towards mobile. We have our HQ in Shanghai is 400 developers focused just on PC and console. We have HQ2 of 110 developers in Bangkok that focus just on mobile games. So the future is mobile. We're attacking it with a separate studio that we put together 18 months ago and signed a cooperative deal with a very large conglomerate. And I know everyone has a portfolio, they all focus on specific things, some want risk, some want growth, but having exposure to the video game industry through Axion Ventures, which is the only public listed video game developer in Canada, is something that you should probably talk to your investment advisor about. I've been told, and I've seen this myself because we're very active in marketing, I'm based in Vancouver, flying to Toronto, flying to all over the US. Every time we meet with investors, analysts, institutional salespeople, regardless, the benefit, I guess, Axion being listed in Canada is like a double-edged sword. On one side, it's very positive because there's no one else listed that has exposure to video games through IP. But on the other side, we have no other comps in Canada. So investors looking at our stock don't know whether we're overvalued, undervalued. We trade anywhere between 160 and 220 million dollar market cap Canadian. In my view, we're undervalued based on comps in the United States, but in Canada there aren't any. So I guess what I'm trying to say is do some research on video games as a whole. You'll see a lot of esports focused companies that have listed publicly just in the last 6 months. There's more to come. From my point of view, it's good to have a piece of the entire ecosystem when it comes to esports, but when it comes to the top line revenue, and where all the revenue funnels to and from is from the video games themselves, because without video games, the esports industry is like a service industry. But with esports, the video game industry can grow to that J curve because esports, it's like a megaphone for video game developers. So I guess I'll leave with that. This chart, while you're going to get lunch, just talks about our partner Tencent compared to some of the other top tech companies in the world that are involved in video gaming. If you guys have any questions, I know we want to go for lunch right now, but I'll be around. Come introduce yourself. I'm happy to chat about video games. Thank you.